It's Tuesday. This is a new episode of the Muse Report podcast, and you are here. You know what that means? This means that you are going to learn something in the next 30 minutes that's going to completely blow your mind, help you build your vision, and change how you go about your life and your profession. Coming soon to theaters. Oh, that was all right. Enough of my voiceover voice. When I get in front of a mic, I just lose all logic and reason. I don't know why. All right. Welcome to this episode of the Muse Report podcast. And I have a very special guest on this episode. His name is Jordan Paris. Jordan is the founder and the host of the Growth Mindset University podcast, author of the book Growth Mindset University, public speaker, trainer, consultant. I mean, he's a man of many talents, and he has interviewed some of the world's top performers, such as David Meltzer, John Lee Dumas, Dan Locke, Jordan Harbinger, Evan Carmichael, and many, many more. See, now, here's the crazy thing. The crazy thing is, he's only 21 years old. So you might be thinking what I was thinking. How did this 21-year-old guy gain access to all these brilliant minds? Well, Jordan has perfected the art of something I call networking up. Some people call it getting out of your league. He literally gives you a word by word breakdown of how he does this in this episode. This is information he has never shared with anyone, and you're hearing it here on the Muse Report podcast, and you're getting it for free. Yeah, free. You're not getting this anywhere else. So you want to stay tuned in. Don't touch anything on your phone. Sit down, listen to this episode, because you are going to need this later. So how does he do it? How can you begin to connect and make relationships with your idols, your role models, and influencers? You'll learn it right now in this episode with Jordan Paris. All right, let's get into it, guys.
Loading.
It's a case study for success.
Be teachable.
What better way to learn than to just ask?
The learning process becomes a journey.
Turning dreams into realities.
Part of execution is totally believing whatever you're doing is going to work.
What are your passions and what are your gifts? And that's where it really starts.
Chances are for taking. Take a chance on yourself.
Any and everyone is capable of being a leader.
You're not going to have all the answers immediately.
Wow. Mentors to expose you to things that you otherwise wouldn't know.
It was all I thought about and dreamed. Like I would literally get up in the morning, practice, because I knew the time would come.
Just do it.
My name is Jordan Paris. I have a ton of fun in life. I love podcasting. My Growth Mindset University podcast is something that I think about all day, every day. I talk to some of the coolest people in the world, like Dan Locke, Mark Manson, Rachel Starr, and John Lee Dumas. So many, and I'm just so fortunate to be able to talk with and associate and even befriend some of these people. And I just, as I said, I have a ton of fun. It's really a joy to be alive right now.
Awesome. And like just some of the names that you just dropped right there. I mean, as this audience grows and more people are in this like realm of knowing those type of people, because my audience is a little wide right now, so they may not know every single name you said. But for me, that's like, holy moly, this guy is like, these are millionaires and billionaires like we're talking about. So what I want to understand for you, I mean, you're killing it with the podcast, Growth Mindset University. Like, what is the importance of networking up? And before you answer, hold on, I want to give the audience context. Okay, so I met Jordan on LinkedIn, and I connected with him. I think he reached out to me, but I was actually about to reach out to him. He just beat me to it because I was checking out his profile because I was looking at other podcasters on LinkedIn, and I was actually checking out listening to his podcast when he messaged me. But
no way.
Yeah, that's exactly how it happened, man. Like literally, I was going to a person that I was booking for a podcast episode that actually wasn't there at the time, so that was a wasted drive. And I was listening to your podcast as I was doing it, and you messaged me, and I was like, oh wow, I was just about to message him. Like literally, I was really just about to message you when you hit me up. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. He must have seen that I viewed his profile. And when I was looking just through Jordan's episode list, I was seeing so many names of people who are so influential in the business space, or even just their respective industry. It doesn't even have to be business, who are extremely successful. And if you don't know, Jordan is 21 years old. He's in college, and he is just absolutely connecting with these high profile people. And I just had to know how he was doing it. So when I say the word networking, the phrase networking up, what I mean is connecting with people who, quote unquote, might be out of your league. Someone who might not be on the same level, like a colleague who's your same age as you, or the same necessarily making the same amount of money or something like that. Of course, we all have something to offer, but there's certain levels to certain things. So networking up is just something that I feel like is really important because it could give you reach in places that you didn't have before. And I really think that it's important that people know how to do this. So Jordan, can you explain, first of all, what networking up is to you? I just want to hear it in your words. I just explained it, but I want to hear how you think about it.
Climbing the social ladder. Yeah, that's really what it is. Another thing that comes to mind is borrowed credibility.
Wow.
Right. So for people like Dan Locke, yeah, a lot of people know him, but millions know him, millions follow him. By the way, the episode's not out yet, but for the majority of people listening to my episode with him, it'll be the first time that they're hearing Dan Locke, right? Just because, yeah, he has 1.3 million subscribers on YouTube. Yeah, he's got 1 million on Instagram. Yeah, he's got all this stuff elsewhere, but that's only like 3-4 million out of, the population. You consider the population of the United States, consider that with the population of the world.
Right. Yeah.
The overwhelming majority of people don't know him, but
right,
he's extremely credible, and I'm the one introducing him into these people's worlds. I remember the first time I heard Seth Godin. It was on Tim Ferriss's podcast in, I believe, 2014.
I think that's the first time
I listened to
Seth
that.
Godin too.
Yeah, I listened to that episode. I listen to that episode all the time. I listen to it just about every year. It was because it was a really good one. And whenever I think about Seth Godin, I associate him with Tim Ferriss. That's the association. So on a subconscious level, as I go along here, and with each new guest, with each incredible guest that I get, I am borrowing their credibility, and on a subconscious level, my listeners are beginning to associate me with that level of credibility. So networking up, I guess that's what I would say about that.
The first step for me is that I think that most people struggle with, because I've been there before, is having the confidence in themselves and what they have to offer to even start to think about approaching that person. Most people say, oh, well, when I get this many episodes, when I get this person on here, I'll try to reach out to this person, or things like that. Or even if you're at an event and there's somebody there that you want to meet, you knew that they were going to be there or something, but you say to yourself, they're out of my league. How do you get that self-confidence and assurance? And like, let's say if you have a business or something like that, how do you have the confidence in what you offer in your business and the confidence in yourself to even start to think about approaching that person?
Yeah, I don't. The only way I know how to go about it is playing the long game, right? And interacting with like this is just how I do it, and I interact with the high profile individual as much as possible. I comment on all their stuff on LinkedIn or whatever platform, and I work on different people for months at a time, and I build that familiarity,
All right.
with right, and over time they begin to start interacting with me. And like I'm just right, so like let's just say David Meltzer, for example.
All right.
And he posts to LinkedIn, I don't know, 2 or 3 times per day, and he replies to about 50% of his comments. So if you do the math, you can get a reply from David Meltzer every single day.
Right.
It's really not that hard. So that's what I did with David for about 4 months. And then at the absolute perfect time, when I knew my chances of landing him were 99.9%, I asked him, as I do with everyone. I just build. It's not really about volume. It's not about the volume. It's all about, of course you got to take shots, right? But it's the name of the game is playing the long game, number one. And number two, what that does is it maximizes the possibility that you get that yes for whatever you're asking. In my case, the podcast. That's how I play that game. Like I said, it's the only way I know how. There's other than like feeling confident enough to do it. I mean, I would highly recommend having all of your ducks in a row before you reach out and giving them that respect. If you should have a clean brand, should have a clean show, should have a should have a maybe a little bit of a listener base at least. Right. It's if you have zero, I don't know. It's just like I don't think you should reach out with like with no information on your profile. And I don't know. I'm just talking, but you make sure you have your ducks in a row, because I think about it like the other way when people ask me to be on my podcast like every day. It's just so annoying. It's so annoying. And most of the time, these are the people that you just don't want.
Right.
99% of the time, these are the people that don't have their ducks in a row. They have zero credibility. Zero. Like, what do you want me to do for you, man? I don't know.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
No, but you said you were just talking, but no, you were making very good points. When it comes to networking, let's say out of your league, you do have to have your ducks in a row in a certain point. I mean, for me, like I started out literally with, maybe like 10 people I knew for sure were listening. And that's when I first just started throwing stuff out there. And I would just kept like going in my immediate circle. Then I went a little bit farther out and a little bit farther out. And then by then, when I started trying to reach out to higher profile people, I already had certain people in my library that they could look to. And even with like what I did with, like say Tiffany Parr or Casey Adams or any of those people, I said, hey, I already talked to this person. They referred me to you. They said, you'll be good on the show. I love you. My audience would love you. And they say, oh, you talked to so-and-so? Okay, you must have some legitimacy to you. Exactly. Same thing that happened with me getting Mark Metry and all these people. It was connections. So, like, in order for me to have that, now, like, I'm starting to establish that confidence in myself now, because I know that I have some people to, like what you said before with the borrowed credibility. I had that borrowed credibility. Man, that's so good.
Well, okay, let's talk more ducks in a row. So even if it's a cold email that I'm reaching out, because I do that some of the time. I mean, because people like Kevin Rudolph, Let It Rock, if you remember that song from 2008, and I Made It in 2010. It's just like, those are my anthems. And people like Kevin Rudolph aren't on LinkedIn. They don't play my game. So I got to reach out cold email to them. And so, so I have this amazing, I don't want to call it a template, because it's extremely personalized, but I'm very methodical with it. It's proven, it's tried and true, gets results. But also my email signature, dude, it is, I wish I could just show you it. There's so many parts to it. There's, like literally my signature, like my cursive, JP, right? I've got that. I've got links to my show, and then all they got to do is click on my show and see that it's got, 158 ratings or whatever. And then there's link to my book. There's like an Instagram logo icon for my Instagram. There's a LinkedIn logo icon. They click on that. They're like, oh, he's got 21,000 followers. And so then it just becomes sort of like, oh yeah, of course I'm going to do this podcast.
Right.
Like my cold email success rate is kind of shocking. I never thought that I would I never thought I would do the cold emails. I remember months ago thinking, if they aren't on LinkedIn, I ain't having them. Because that was just the game I played. I was one dimensional.
Yeah, that's so good too. And like, I would love to kind of, if you don't mind sharing, getting into that template a little bit. But also,
I'm going to my email right now.
Okay, cool. With the cold approach thing, and the confidence to go there. One, I think is just, I mean, it deals with anything, with sports or whatever you want to do. If you shoot 1,000 free throws, every single month or whatever, or you shoot 1,000 free throws in practice, when you get to the free throw line in crunch time, you're not going to be nearly as worried than the person who doesn't practice their free throws. Right. So as far as me, and I know for lots of other people, just putting up the reps helps build that confidence as well, so that when you do go, because sometimes you're just not going to feel like you're ready. I realize that, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try. Even if you get rejected, I've gotten rejected before and then gotten the person on the show later. Absolutely. Yeah. I've done that, yeah. So like, if you're reaching out to that person at that workshop or something and it doesn't go perfectly right the first time, that's by no means to give up and not try again and make a better impression later.
A lot of times that no, I mean, depending on the person, I feel good like when I get it right. So like Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like I emailed him last week and his team actually responded to me. They said it was a very nice email. I don't remember exactly what they said, but it ended up being a not right now. And I was like, yes, that's, I'm like one email closer.
Right. Yeah. That's like a step closer.
Right. Yeah. Cause like I'm going to reach back out to him next, like in 6 months, I'm going to reach out to him the year after that, and then it's just going to work eventually.
Right.
And it just will. Like I know for a fact. And I have a good friend, Jeremy Ryan Slate. I don't know if you know him.
I don't.
With the Create Your Own Life podcast, really good podcast where I don't think the interview has happened yet, but he has Steve Wozniak. He does have Eric Thomas, right? Cool. And just like the guest list is better than any other podcast I've ever seen in the entire world. And he says, like, dude, the magic is in the follow-up. He was following up with Steve Wozniak for years, and he just kept getting the answer, Steve is not doing press right now, right? And but eventually, it was a yes.
Yeah. How bad do you want it? I mean, how bad do you want that person on your show? If you really want them, you're going to keep trying over and over again. I think that's part of the success rate as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So for a person who has gotten to that point where they're about to make that cold reach out, or they're about to talk to that person who's at the workshop or conference, one thing that you always hear from, all these people on YouTube and the gurus and the Gary V's and all these people, they say you got to provide value. You got to provide value, or else why would they listen to you? Which is completely legitimate. Yeah. How did you go about presenting your value in a way that is appealing to those people so that they could take the time out to like acknowledge who you are and possibly you get your foot in the door?
Yeah, two things. One, I kind of said it earlier. People see, when I reach out in the main body of the email is, my show, Growth Mindset University, and then the Growth Mindset University is like linked to the iTunes page, and then I would assume that a good amount of people may click it, right? I'd assume probably all of them click it.
Yeah.
Probably not all of them, but a good amount of them do.
Right.
And they see all those hundreds of ratings and see it's a legit show. Okay. And then the other thing is a very key line in my email. It says, I'm 21 years old and have interviewed Rachel Starr, David Meltzer, John Lee Dumas, and I have Mark Manson, Dan Locke, Evan Carmichael, and Jordan Harbinger coming up soon on my schedule. I'd love to add you to this mix and create something truly special. Plus, I hear you have a new book coming out, blah, blah, blah. So there's 2 points there. Yes, the last thing, you have a new book coming out, like, implying that this is a place to promote it.
Right.
And then the other thing is the credibility.
Right.
I'm like, hey, do you want to be associated with these people?
Right.
And
Yeah.
everyone wants to. So it's kind of like a no-brainer.
Right. Have you ever thought that a certain person may not? No, I don't think that will ever happen. Like if you're reaching outside of the normal industry that you were in, like they may not acknowledge who those people are. Like they may not be like know the impact that they have. Because I know, like, if I reach out to, like, let's say Kyrie Irving from the Celtics, and I put those people, he may not be like acknowledging who they are. It's not in his circle.
It's a good question, but I would tailor it a little bit. Like because I've interviewed an NBA player, and so like I would probably throw him in there.
Right. Tailor it.
But I would I change it. I change the names depending. For the most part, it kind of stays the same. But I would, so I do think that sometimes, and I still keep it just because just the fact that I'm name dropping them there is they're like, oh, they must be important, and either they just stick with that assumption, oh, they must be important, or they take the extra step and look them up. I don't know. I'm just theorizing, and then then they see when they look them up, they're like, oh crap.
Right. Oh man, that's so good. Okay, so
I don't worry about it too much. That's the point.
Right. I'm literally like writing stuff down like as we're talking because I'm taking notes. And so you referred to your cold email template, and that kind of leads into where I want to go next, because I feel like there are two types of approaches, and I'm asking you because clearly you're good at this. I don't know how much you've done of either, but there's the face-to-face interactions where you might be at an event or a conference or a panel discussion or whatever it is, and then you have copy. So that could be cold emails, DMs, LinkedIn messages, whatever those are. Do you approach those differently? And if you do, how do you go about them?
Yeah, I mean, events are really easy just because you're no longer a faceless name, right? Coming across the screen. So like you're actually human there. It's confirmed you are not a robot. And it's just, I mean, that's really easy. And you just got to be you, really. As far as the email and LinkedIn messages, my approach is the same all the time now. I used to have two alternate templates, but I just kind of threw away the other one a long time ago. I don't even remember it. But anyway, so I'm very hesitant to share this, very, very hesitant, because, and I really hope people don't use it. I hope you use it, but I hope I don't want this to get around. So because it works, right? And when I reach out to people, I'm like, I don't want people to be like, oh, I got this from this person too.
Right. Yeah. I feel
right,
like,
yeah, exactly. So, but it is a derivative of, I believe, something that Tim Ferriss used, right? So here it goes. Dear so-and-so, next line, next paragraph. I'm sure you receive quite the abundance of emails or messages, so this will be quick. Next paragraph. I love your, okay, we're going to say for Kevin Rudolph, okay, because that's what I'm reading right now. I love your music and really resonate with it. I've been listening to you since I was 11 years old. Next paragraph. I'm 21 years old and have interviewed Rachel Starr, David Meltzer, John Lee Dumas, and I have Mark Manson, Dan Locke, Evan Carmichael, and Jordan Harbinger coming up soon on my schedule. I'd love to add you to this mix and create something truly special. Plus, I hear you have a new single coming out. My show, Growth Mindset University, and it's linked, is all about learning the lessons we should have learned in school but didn't. And the honor would be entirely mine to host you. That was a new paragraph, by the way. Now here's another new paragraph. Are you opposed? Next paragraph. Again, totally get how busy you are, so even a short reply would be great. Cheers to manufacturing amazing, Jordan. And then my email signature with my real signature, and my website and my book and my other business website and my podcast and my LinkedIn logo and my Instagram logo and my podcast, and then an Apple Podcast logo, and then oh my gosh, yes, I forgot about these elements. And then there's a picture, a cool picture of me I made in Photoshop, and I put it small after all that, So like I'm literally like I'm not a faceless name, you know. So there's my picture there, and then seen in, and then my media features like Men's Health, Yahoo Finance, NASDAQ. What's that one? Market Watch, and and the logos are just there. So and then if you click that, it's like the picture of the media logos are clickable, and it goes to like my media features page on my website. So like it's really a no-brainer.
Yeah, I feel like that signage really like adds that extra oomph of like professionalism and credibility. Like, oh, actually, let me pay attention to who this person is. That's really good. That's really
social proof. Social proof. If other people are doing it, then it must be good.
Right. Yeah, they went again. They got that FOMO. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
This is how we're wired. As much as we want to stand out, we really we prefer to fit in. Really, like we really do. Yeah.
We're communal creatures. We want to be a part of the mix. You know. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome, man. That does, from what I've done in all the studying and research and Tim Ferriss and Seth Godin and JLD that I've listened to, I've kind of put together my own formula that resembles that quite much, but you took it to a whole nother level. That I think is just incredible.
So you want to hear what happens when someone says no?
Yes,
or
I do.
When someone doesn't answer? Hold on, I'm pulling up.
That was the next question. What about the rejections? Yeah, that's what people don't want to hear about.
So okay, so ready? So here, Eric did not respond to my first email. And then I said, "Dear Eric, I hope the past week has been unbelievably fulfilling for you." Next paragraph. I've booked some truly incredible human beings for the show in the past week. Next paragraph. I'd still love to host you too on the show, the in italics, and then this show. The show is linked to, my iTunes page. It will only take you 18 minutes. You can be in your PJs and just hang out if you want, and we can book it a few months from now. Next paragraph. You are welcome to propose some dates and times or book with me on our calendar if it's easier. And there's my calendar. Many will benefit from hearing from you. Cheers, Jordan. And then that's when I got my one step closer, my no from this team. Right. And but a lot of times, so like 50% of the time I get people on the first email, and then the other 50% of the time I get people on the next one. It gets big. The next one gets as much results as the first one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also see
person I interviewed today just was someone I got on the second one.
Yeah. And I also see that you're also providing the way of least resistance by having all those links in there, having all the different options that they can make. You're making it extremely easy for them to say yes. And like literally just them having to go somewhere else or message you to get a calendar booking thing is another step that they probably just don't feel like doing unless they really want to do it. So by you providing that for them, by you providing all the links so that they could check you out right there, at the click of a finger, you're increasing your chances of getting a yes, which I think is just genius.
That is a great point. Making it very easy. Yeah.
So, I get you answered that already, really. But I'll just reinforce it. Showing someone that you're worth their time, because that's, I feel like, is a major part of getting the yes. People have to say, okay, this person is worth my time and me going on their show or me spending time with them, me mentoring them or whatever that is. But you kind of just put it out there when you won the borrowed accountability, also with the things that you already have on your resume, and then the value that you can offer to them. Oh, I heard you released a single, or I heard you released a book recently. I could provide that to my audience. So I pretty much just answered that question from you answering the questions prior.
Good.
But just so that it's all right there, so people who may not have been, who are listening passively and didn't catch it all, it's right there for you.
That's a good part of being a good host. It's, taking what somebody says and packaging it in a much simpler and shorter way. I do that all the time. So
yeah,
right
I'm
there
trying to get better at it. Coming with practice.
It does come with practice. It does.
And you kind of answer some of these questions as well, but there might be more out there. I don't know. What are some of the tools that you use to make these connections? So, of course, one is cold email. And another one you said is LinkedIn. Are there any other ways that you go about, making these connections, networking up?
Well, I almost forgot. I mean, those are the ways, but I almost forgot. I'm taking for granted that people can find these emails. The way you find the email is you go to hunter.io. Instead of .com, it's .io, and you can go to, I don't know, say, you can go to any person's website .com, right? And you can just click the Hunter icon in your Google Chrome browser, and it'll find all the emails that are at jordanparis.com, right? Mm-hmm. So, which, by the way, this won't work for me because my email isn't at jordanparis.com. So
it's not. Yes,
it's not. Right. You know that. And it's like kind of a good thing. But yeah. So like that's how I found ETs. That's how that's how I find everyone's email. Yeah. I just literally have it installed on my Google Chrome, and I just click the red icon. Yeah, it's an extension. I just click the icon on someone's website, and
wow,
it's great. Yeah, I can't believe you didn't know about it. It's a great tool.
I didn't know about it, and I have to go search high and low through the hills and valleys trying to find emails, and that's so much easier.
Even I've gotten a couple of big guests through. I've gotten 2 gigantic guests through Instagram. Their email was right on their Instagram. It's just like,
so
am I the only one seeing this or what?
So a question that stems from that is, do you advise trying to go the least concentrated or least crowded route? I know some people's email inboxes might be super crowded, or their DMs might be super crowded, depending on how active they are on whichever one of those. If they're super active on email, their inbox, or they're super active on Instagram, their DM inbox might be super full of just crap, and they might just throw you to the side. So like, do you say that's a good idea? Like if someone's super active on Instagram, but you message them on Twitter where they only have this amount of followers to get more access, do you think that's a good plan or not?
Yeah, I don't know if you can message on Twitter unless they're
following you. Yeah, you're right.
Never ever use Instagram unless you have a verified badge or the person has not that many followers. I mean, because just the way it works with Instagram, it sucks. Mm-hmm. Like when people message me that I'm not following, and it says X amount of requests. And I only notice it after like a month has gone by. Yeah. Right. And I can imagine with people like, I don't know, say Jim Quick. Jim Quick's he's not seeing your message.
Right.
He's not. Sorry. And I don't think it's a good place to reach out at all. And so, yeah, it's really just for me LinkedIn and email, but there's definitely some truth to that. If someone's more popular on a platform, it's like it does make it a little bit harder, but then they're definitely more active on that platform. But then if they're not as popular on another platform, and they it makes it easier for you because there's just not as much volume, but they're not as active on that platform. So, right. But I find LinkedIn to be a really good happy medium.
Yes.
Where people are even the most popular people are active enough.
Yeah.
And it's really easy for you to literally be in their network, and as well as reach out to them and for them to actually see your message.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm done name dropping, but the people in my LinkedIn network are people I should not be connected with.
No, yeah, your network is crazy. And one thing that I did find that might be a tip that someone could use, I don't know. I've had a slight success with it for people who, and you have to be authentic with it as well. You can't be spamming people. That's just, don't do that. But what I did before is actually just genuinely like tagging people either on your story or with videos, not just direct message with words. And some people like actually just look at it, just like, oh, let me see what this person, put this video about with me in it. And then that kind of gets you like access, because once they open up your message once, you are more likely to show up. I don't know if you're still in the requests afterwards, but I think you get out of there. Right.
You get out of there.
So like now you have more access.
Good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one tip that you could use. But you have to be authentic. Like, just don't be commenting on people's things like for no reason, because once they see your name again, they're just going to completely disregard you because you brought no value the first time. But yeah, so I think that's something that if you want to stick with Instagram, because that's where that person is active and they don't really look at their emails or whatever that is, which they probably still do. But that's one tip that you can use if you really want to get out of that no access area.
Absolutely. And now is the time, because I really do get the sense that these high profile individuals are going to catch on 10 years from now.
Yeah.
and start, denying and being very more restrictive in terms of, the access that they give to just anyone. We're kind of in uncharted territory right now.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
In the digital age, in the podcast era, in the Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn era. I mean, but I really do think it's going to get a lot. There's going to be a lot more shows 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
I really think it's going to be exponentially harder if you don't get in the door now.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like I say it all the time. I've said on episodes before. I saw an article released by, it was Libsyn or Podbean or some hosting site or something. And they were saying, like, out of the 600,000 podcasts that are out there, what's going to make your show get noticed? I said, wait, hold up, back up, rewind. 600,000 shows? 600,000 users? That's it? Do you know how many millions of people are on these other platforms that are that people are trying to break through? 600,000, that's all I have to worry about? Right.
That is crazy. Yeah. People like hear that 600,000 number and they're like, oh my God, it's so saturated.
That's nothing.
There's, I don't know the YouTube numbers, how many
right.
There are so many millions of accounts, and I'm wondering how many. I was trying to look it up last week, but I couldn't get anything definitive, like how many YouTube accounts have over, I don't know, 1,000 subscribers. I forget what I looked up, but it's significantly more than there are podcasts out there. Right,
exactly.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So
YouTube's So for me, I don't know what to do with YouTube. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm slowly trying to get into the YouTube space.
I've never tried.
That's another reason why I've been trying to start getting the video. One, for promotional purposes. People just connect better with faces, but also for YouTube purposes. Just I want to test the waters. See how it goes. I know it's super crowded. It's but I feel like if I have a niche audience, I might still have a chance. But I'm just trying to figure it out and test the waters and see how it goes. Who knows? But yeah, man, you dropped a whole wealth of knowledge. I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate you taking out the time. I appreciate you being patient, and I appreciate all the knowledge that you dropped, Jordan. You are amazing. I plan to stay connected with you,
of course,
and just contributing to what you're doing any way I can.
Likewise, my friend.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that episode with Jordan Paris. Look, if you need to go back and listen, there's no problem with that. Have a pen and paper ready, an iPad, a laptop, something to take notes. Jordan dropped a lot of detailed information in this episode. It doesn't hurt to go back and make sure that you just soak it all up. I have this podcast here so that you can learn, grow, and put this stuff to action. That's the most important part of building your vision, is putting it to action. So if you want to connect with Jordan, get his book, which I recommend, or just check him out. The links for all that will be in the show notes to get in contact with him. If you like this episode, share it with a friend. Share it with some friends that you know might need to hear this. Somebody who is close to you that's also on the pursuit of trying to connect with people and network up. Share it. In fact, take a screenshot on your phone and post it on your Instagram story. Tag us at the Muse Report Podcast and put it on your Instagram story so people can learn this great information too. If you loved the show, if you really loved it, leave a rating and a review. You really have no idea how much I appreciate ratings and reviews. It's like cold water on a hot summer day for me. It's just refreshing. It helps the show immensely, and it gives new listeners an idea of what to expect for when they listen to the show if they're just checking it out. So I would really appreciate that if you love this episode, if you love the show. It means the world to me. All right, guys. I will talk to you on Friday. Until then, keep building your vision every single day. Peace.
Oh, that's the end of our MRP episode. Thank you for listening, everything, but it's time to go. We'll have a new one for you next week on the flip side. But until then, don't kill the vibe, subscribe. Don't kill the vibe, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. Don't kill the vibe, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. Don't kill the vibe, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. Don't kill the vibe, make sure you go ahead and subscribe.